I don't know if the people at home will be able to recognize the fact that we're in some weird different settings here, but
new digs, multi-million-dollar renovation project for the Xtra Points set, and I think it's amazing.
We'll see. Every week brings something new. We got this in from one of our loyal viewers.
Wow.
A little dartboard to make our picks. We'll have to get that set up here for real sometime, and actually maybe throw some darts at it. After some of the results that first week, maybe it would be just as good as us actually picking.
Exactly. Just throw some coins in the air and see where it lands. Wasn't good. Mother Nature didn't help, and just kind of a wacky week one, and some surprising results and some other things that I think we expected going in. So
we'll talk some high school football heading into week 2. We promised you we'd bring up some other stuff this week. And so we'll go around the state a little bit, talk some Badgers, some Packers preseason, and get you all caught up to speed here on this episode of Xtra Points. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Xtra Points. John Barry over here to my left. I'm Eric Schmolt. We're from the Gazette Sports Department, and we get together now that school's back in session, or at least the sports are back in session.
Sports back in gear.
We come to you every week and break down what's going on in the high school scene around the state. Badgers, Packers, Brewers.
Yep.
Probably not the Brewers these days.
Brewers,
I'm over it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm done with them. They're yesterday's news.
They might not even be tomorrow's news either. They might need to wait a little
That's
while.
a double-A lineup on the field right now.
But we do have high school football off and running. We got week 1 under our belt last week somehow. Friday, Saturday, lightning, rain, whatever, a little bit of everything. I guess just your initial, what stood out to you? What was the biggest thing?
I was down at Clinton covering Evansville, Albany at Clinton, and this is the first time in, 30 years of doing this that the referee stopped the game, walked over to me, and said, "Can we look at the radar on your phone?" And I said, "Sure." And I think everybody in the stands was like, first of all, who the heck is that guy? And what does he have to do with the officials? But we came over, we looked at the radar. Again, I was in Clinton. The radar was tracking storms probably near Fort Atkinson. So they decided to, even though you could see the lightning, they decided to continue the game. Evansville Albany came back and won. And, again, I think just a wacky week 1 because, Janesville Craig puts 48 points on the board and loses by 15. Janesville Parker, which we thought was going to be, at least a dark horse candidate to make a run at a Big 8 title, you saw them play and just didn't play well and got thumped pretty easily at home. So just a week where, they say the biggest improvements made from week 1 to week 2, and we'll find that out Friday night. Well, actually find that out Thursday night when Craig travels to Madison East because they couldn't play on Friday because of
Wilco
a music festival.
Wilco.
Not Wilco. That's September 9th.
Week?
This is the something else all-day festival, yes.
Oh, fair enough.
Yep, okay.
Why wouldn't you just move things to concerts?
I know.
Just getting back to the lightning thing, though, it seems like, I think it kind of comes down to the crew's discretion. Usually a trainer, too, has those lightning meters, so you know if it's within a certain distance.
Right.
Otherwise, it comes down to the crew of officials and the coaches just kind of keeping safety in mind. And it was kind of weird, like at Monterey, we could see the lightning, because at Monterey, pretty much every direction you can see a long way.
Yeah.
And so I could look at their radar, and there wasn't anything within 20 miles. Most of it was by Stoughton.
Right.
But with like 3 minutes left, they finally had seen enough strikes that were visible that they said, "Oh, this doesn't seem safe."
And I think Clayton Krieger had seen enough to say, "Hey, we don't have to come back tomorrow and finish this." Because
I was happy we didn't have like an hour lightning delay to finish up 2 minutes and 30 seconds of a 4-touchdown game. But I think it just. Hopefully that's the only time we have to deal with it. And
it seems like every year there's a Friday night where that happens. I remember it last year. I was down in Clinton and the same thing. It just not much you can do about Mother Nature and the weather. And I know talking to Ben McCormick, the Craig coach, they were up at La Follette, and Ben said kind of the same thing you did. There was lightning around them, but nothing close or imminent that he thought they should have finished the game and not had to come back on Saturday to wrap up that fourth quarter, which, again, it's up to each crew. And I know a lot of fan safety and player safety comes first, but a lot of times I think there's some overreacting as well.
A lot of those Big 8 games either were completed that were up in the Madison area or maybe called like the Parker game with a couple of minutes left.
Right.
That was the only one that got postponed, and it's kind of a weird deal for the Cougars because now they had to come back, play Saturday for a couple quarters, and actually they got back within 8 points a couple of times, but never could really get back over the hump. And now they got to turn around and play right again on Thursday, so not a whole lot of time in between games.
And I think the good thing is, like Ben said, we were quickly able to forget about the La Follette game, but make some adjustments practice-wise. And I think Ben feels pretty good about his team going into the East game. I think it's a game that Craig should win and get back to 500 and just forget about that Week 1 loss.
Gotta see the defense step up, though.
You do.
This is what we talked about kind of going into the season, was avoiding these shootout-style games. And the first week with a whole new defense, no starters back from last year, and gave up 9 touchdowns.
They did, and I think the positive they took out of it is, he said before that game, I think our offense is good enough to move the ball and score on anybody, and they proved that. La Follette's been a pretty good defense the last few years. DJ Sweeney was dynamite. I think he had 206 yards of total offense. Nick Kramer had over 100 yards rushing, but Ben said it wasn't even so much getting off the field on third down. It was just, he said the whole game La Follette was first down, second down, back to first down, back to second down, first down again. He said they just moved the ball at will, and he said obviously we've got to fix that, and we got to fix it immediately, or it's going to be a long year.
Again, make sure you got your calendars marked, because that's Thursday
night at Brees Stevens Field in Madison, and good chance, not much else going on. Get up there and watch Cougars play, and hopefully get a win.
Parker's going to turn right around and be at home again Friday night down at Monterey, and they'll take on that La Follette team that was able to score at will against Craig.
Right.
I had the chance to see the Vikings Friday, and it didn't feel like 34-6. It really didn't feel like it was that big of a blowout. But then again, the only time they scored was when they got the ball handed to them at the 5-yard line.
Right.
And there were a couple plays there where they just let in easy touchdowns from 30 or 40 yards out. And you can't really do that or put yourself in bad field position on both sides of the ball all game and expect to really be in a game.
Well, and I think more than anything, I think maybe the Vikes they're guilty of reading their press clippings, and I'm right there to blame with the rest of them. Is I legitimately thought they would be a team that could contend for a title, and they still may, but you still got to go out and play. And I think right now that football team, despite the talent, needs to find an identity, and they need to find it quickly, because otherwise you're looking at 0-2, and 0-2 doesn't usually translate into a conference championship. So this is a pivotal game for Parker. You get a win, you get to beat a good La Follette team. All of a sudden you're 1-1 with East coming up next, and things are looking a little brighter than they were after Friday night's. I wouldn't say embarrassing, but just a very disappointing loss to
Verona. Bit of a wake-up call,
yeah,
maybe. Yeah,
I would agree.
The problem is, if you start 0-2 in these leagues like the Big 8 or the Rock Valley, all of a sudden you have to go 5-2 the rest of the way to at least make to clinch a spot in the playoffs. And maybe it's early to start thinking about that, but you're kind of really behind the 8 ball if you start
very
0-2.
much behind the 8 ball, and that's why I say this is a big game for the Vikes, and I'm hoping they can respond and just realize that, hey, we still got to go out in the field and play. We've got some talent, but you still got to play the game.
As you mentioned before, switching over to the Rock Valley here, you went and saw 2 teams that we thought were probably going to be contenders, Evansville, Albany at Clinton, and I think for a half each, they looked like that. They looked the part.
Yeah, they did.
Clinton was up 12-0 at halftime. Evansville, Albany, 21 points unanswered in the second half to win 21-12. So
I think Evansville, Albany just wore them down. I just think they, in the trenches, just wore them down. Brennan Banks is a load. He's a big, strong kid at running back, and certainly Zach Milkey to Hayden Reese that's a good combination. That's something you're going to have to look out for all year, because Reese went up, and 2 of the 3 touchdowns just went up and got the ball. I mean, it was thrown in the right spot, but he just went up and made plays, and they didn't have much going else offensively. But I think after that first connection, when Evansville cut the lead to 1 possession, I think they just breathed a sigh of relief that, hey, we're on the board. We can do this, and they just kind of took over. And it really was a tale of 2 halves. As well as Clinton played the second half, the first half, the second half, they just kind of boggled down and just couldn't get anything going offensively. And, Clinton, again, battling numbers, the smallest team in that conference, and Evansville, Albany's got a big group of kids, and I mean big as in size-wise,
right.
And, I think it just wore them a little bit.
I don't think there was anything super shocking from the Rock Valley the first week.
Nope.
A nice job by Bigfoot, another game that got postponed to Saturday, to come back and come from behind to beat Broadhead Judah in the final seconds, really. And I think going back to our little 0-2 talk here, the big game this week, Clinton at Broadhead Judah, because one of those teams which I think for much of their first week games and for everybody going into the season, they look like playoff caliber teams,
agree,
and one of them's going to be 0-2 here.
One's going to be 0-2, and you know, for Broadhead Judah, a sting, because you know you wait overnight, you think you're in pretty good shape, and then all of a sudden you turn around and Jackson Enns, who's just a phenomenal athlete, they get him to the outside where he's a little bit more dangerous, and he makes a play with his feet and makes a play with his arms, and once again, you want to count out Bigfoot, and once again, Bigfoot finds a way to win, and it's just something we've been accustomed to over the last decade, and no different on Saturday when they came from behind to win. But I think when you look at the Rock in general, a good one for Turner over Edgerton. Very surprised East Troy handled McFarland as easily as they did. I think people thought McFarland would be better. And then certainly you've got Jefferson at Evansville Albany this week, two undefeated teams, only it's one game. But I think it's a case where it's still the road to the title is still going to go through Evansville Albany. I don't think there's any question about that.
I guess the other, tough one for Milton.
Tough one for Milton.
Yeah, they took a bit of a thumping.
And that's a good program. Mount Horeb's a good program, but I think the Red Hawks, new coach, new system, a lot of things at first game, it's a tough assignment, especially when you get a team that scores like Mount Horeb does. If you get a team like, Reedsburg or Wanakee that prides itself on defense, or Monona Grove, it's a little different. But when you get one of those high-flying teams that likes to put the ball in the air and really runs that quick offense, the Red Hawks didn't adjust too well to it. But again, a long season, and they're not into conference play yet, so I would expect that. And I really was impressed, even though they lost, with the Comets of Delavan Darien.
Yeah.
A 10-0 loss to a Lodi team that's
10-6.
Or 10-6. That's a program that's been good for a long time. So tip of the hat to the Comets and Brett Arts-Arnold and
St. Arnold.
Yeah, St. Arnold.
Easy there, guy.
Yeah. What did I say? St. Bernard.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sounded like St. Bernard. Brett St. Bernard, the head coach at Delavan.
Yeah, he said he was switching his focus over to the defense, and I think it showed.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a Lodi team that really beat up a Bigfoot team. That obviously Delavan's a little bigger than Bigfoot, but in the playoffs last year they really handled them.
They did.
I think Lodi brought back a lot of that team that made it to state last year, and to hold them to 10 points, I think, said more than only scoring 6.
You don't like the moral victories, but in this case, I think for Delavan, it's not a great loss, but it's a learning loss, and one that they can take some confidence and know that they can play with good teams.
And Jake Benzing threw for more than 300 yards.
Yeah.
Somehow they only got 6 points on the board.
I don't know what happened there, but he's a special player.
We'll have more. Obviously, you can follow us Friday night. We'll be out at Janesville game Thursday night. And then you'll have the Parker game Friday. I'll be out in the Rock Valley Friday night, and we'll have all your updates and things at GazetteExtra.com. We'll have more on the high school scene in the coming weeks. We got volleyball kind of starting up this week, cross country, boys soccer,
swim. Yeah, they're all getting going, and it kind of coincides with the end of summer and the start of the school year.
School starts next week, right?
It does. A week from Tuesday, I think it is. Yeah.
So. More on that in the coming weeks, but that'll at least get you up to date for football here this week. The rest of the football world, we're kind of in that little dead zone here.
We are, although the Badgers are right around the corner.
10 days till Lambeau, or 11 days.
A week from Saturday, and tough news today with Dan Bowles, their fine offensive lineman, retiring with a bad knee, and I guess it's tough to say guys retired when he's playing college ball.
That's what they're calling it.
I guess quit would be the way I look at it. He's not getting paid, but who knows? I mean, Leonard Fournette was in a boot last week, so maybe he won't be 100%, but it'll just be nice to get that college season going, and hopefully the Badgers can.
Badgers need to find a quarterback.
They do, and be competitive. Just don't get blown out. That's the whole thing. If they lose by 10 points or something, I'll be mad, but at least you can suffice and say, hey, they're going to be okay. But if they get blown out, then you got to start to wonder with that schedule that they have if it's going to be a long year.
That schedule is crazy.
Brutal. Oh, my goodness.
I don't know if I've really ever seen it.
There's not a tougher schedule in the conference than what the Badgers have.
They got you got Michigan State, I think, right in a row. Ohio
State, Iowa.
Yeah.
It's murder's row, and it's it starts with a very good LSU that's ranked in the top 5
at Lambeau. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
We'll talk more probably about that next week.
We will, yes, because we'll be coming up to it. Yeah,
I'll be right there.
Packers, Jordy back in practice, probably not going to play until the regular season, but certainly a good sign for them.
I just don't take anything from the preseason.
I don't either. I take absolutely nothing that goes on in the preseason. It's meaningless. All it is to figure out roster spots, and Aaron Rodgers plays 2 series or once. It doesn't matter.
Well, even that, like the quarterbacks have always kind of only played like 1 or 2 series or a quarter or something. But even now, you've got like starting offensive linemen not playing.
Yeah.
I mean,
It is what it is.
I don't think the teams really take it all that seriously.
They don't.
So why should
you're
we?
just trying to avoid injuries, and you're just trying to, like I say, get down to that 53-man roster. And you look at last year. Nelson gets hurt in a preseason game. I wouldn't even play Rodgers after maybe one series, because if something happens to him, then it's a whole different season that you're looking at.
Of course, if you're down in Dallas, then everything's huge during the preseason. And you got Dak Prescott, who's like the next John Elway.
Yeah, he's obviously the next Russell Wilson, which he's not even their starter. Romo's still the starter, and if he goes down, then we'll see how Dak Prescott could do against a first-string defense and not a third-string with guys that probably won't even be on the team. So, I agree. The preseason, it's fun in the sense that football's back.
But it's not.
But it's not, and I don't put much stock into football. It. I don't get too excited about the preseason.
Might as well put up one of those little old metal things with the players and just turn it on, and then put it on my TV and I'll just watch the guys.
The best thing about preseason is a lot of times when you're on a pool, bad numbers come in.
Oh, there you go.
So that's the best thing about it.
The best thing about the preseason is that you can still gamble on it.
Yes, exactly.
That's basically what we've just gone down to.
Discovered that. Yes.
What else? Anything else going on?
Not really. It's just getting to be that time where we're on the cusp of just unloading everything and getting into it. And it's a fun time of year, but it's going to be a busy time of year. And you look forward to seeing certain kids that kind of come along that you didn't expect to do things. And whether it's, again, volleyball, golf, tennis, swim, whatever it might be, there's always that 4 or 5 kids that just kind of burst onto the scene, and that's what I look forward to is writing about those kids and seeing what they can do, because right now we don't know a whole lot about what's out there as far as the other sports, because they haven't gotten going yet.
This week is kind of the week where everybody jumps into it. Big tournament, I guess. If you have nothing, if you get plans Friday or Saturday, big volleyball tournament.
Volleyball at
Craig and Parker, and you go out there and see a lot of these local teams and kind of get your first look at them. And I mean, it's kind of fun because it's one of those things you can stop out pretty much any time during your day.
And I would think,
and you can sit there for 30 minutes. And
I would think the Cougars are going to be pretty good. I would think Parker's going to be young, and we'll see. But I think Craig with Brandt and some of those other kids back, got a chance to be a pretty decent team. Again, we'll talk more about that in the coming weeks as we get a chance to see them and figure out exactly where things stand and who's who. So. Appreciate you tuning in. As always, you can email us at sports@gazetteextra.com. Leave us a comment at gazetteextra.com or YouTube or Twitter or whatever you want to do.
You can find us on Twitter and tell us how terrible we are, or you can make a dartboard or
make a dartboard and put our faces on it. And we can throw it at that. That's fine as well.
I guess that's about it.
That's about it for this week.
Thanks to Kevin McLeod for the music.
Yep. And Dave Vaughn and Angela for making sure the new set looks like we're on ESPN. And other than that, just be safe and take care, everybody.
And enjoy Thursday night and Friday night football.
Yes.
See you here next week.
Take care.